Hi, in this video we're going to show you how to create a Windows 11 virtual machine in Proxmox, which is another virtualization platform you could use for free if you want to try some virtualization. So this works a little differently than other platforms such as VMware Workstation or VirtualBox or Hyper-V, because those run on top of the operating system, such as running on Windows or Linux, for example, where this runs kind of like VMware ESXi, where this runs right on top of the hardware, not on top of an operating system. But for this example, I actually installed Proxmox as a virtual machine in VMware Workstation, so that way I could actually record the video using my video recording software, but it doesn't work quite as well as if you install it directly on your hardware. All right, so once you have it configured, you just need to log in to your web interface, which it'll give you once you install Proxmox. So the Proxmox installation is up to you, so I'm going to assume you already have that figured out. So I'm going to log in with the root here and my password. All right, so here is the main interface. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure you have your Windows ISO file uploaded, because you can't browse to it when creating a virtual machine like you can with like VMware Workstation. So to do so, just go to your server view here, go to your local drive here, then there's an ISO images section here, and then you could upload it. Just browse to it on your computer and upload it, simple as that. Then it'll be kept here for every time you need to create a virtual machine. All right, so now that we have that uploaded, you could click on Create VM. If you have more than one node, you could choose that. The VM ID, it will start with 100, since this is the first one on here, and then we'll call this Win 11 Pro. And if you have a resource pool, you could choose that as well. If you click on Advanced Options, you can see any advanced options here: Start at Boot, Startup Delay, and so on. Okay, so we'll pick our ISO file from our drop down here. We only have one uploaded. The type, Windows. Version, you could change this if you want, but this looks like it's the latest one here. You could also use your CD drive. I haven't tried this, so I'm not sure how well that'll work. All right, so you have some graphics card choices here. I'm just going to stick with default. Same with the machine type, UEFI for the BIOS. And then you need to pick your storage, so this is using the storage on the server itself. Then you have some options for SCSI controller and so on. And then TPM storage, you're going to use the local storage on the server itself there too, in the TPM version. We'll go with 2.0. Okay, so now for disk size, Windows 11 needs 52 gigs, I believe, at the minimum, so we'll make this 60. You have some bandwidth settings if you want to change that as well. All right, CPU, we'll give it 2 cores, 1 socket. Then there's some flags you could configure if you want. All right, memory. Since it's just a tester, we'll stick with the 4 gigs. You could enable ballooning, which is checked by default. And then for networking, we'll use the default bridge. It's the only one that's configured. So this got configured during the installation of Proxmox. And you could use VLAN tags if you want to change the adapter model and so on. All right, then once everything looks good, click on Finish. All right, so here's our virtual machine. We can click on Start Now. But one problem, which you shouldn't have depending how you install Proxmox. So since I'm running Proxmox on a virtual machine, trying to create virtual machines, I have to change one of the settings in my virtual machine itself. So I click on the virtual machine, go to Options, and I have to turn off KVM hardware virtualization. Otherwise, it's not going to work. But if you're installing Proxmox directly on the hardware, you shouldn't have this problem. All right, so let's continue here. All right, press any key to boot from CD. Then, of course, you have your shutdown commands up here, console commands here. and so on. All right, I'm going to pause the video real quick and go through this installation so you don't have to watch that process, because I assume you've probably done this a million times, and then we'll see how it runs afterwards. Okay, so after some time, I got the Windows 11 virtual machine installed. This took a lot longer than it should have, but it's most likely because I'm running Proxmox as a virtual machine only with 12 gigs of RAM, plus the virtual machine only has 4 gigs of RAM, so it's probably not liking that. All right, so once you have it running, you can go ahead and use it in the console, or you could go ahead and look at the summary screen here. So you can see it's kind of maxing out on the CPU here, so it's kind of slow. Same with the memory. All right, then you have your hardware screen here. If you want to add some hardware or edit some existing hardware, you could do that. You got some options here, which we saw before when we were looking at the KVM hardware virtualization. Task history, monitor, backup options, replication. We don't have 2 nodes, so we can't do replications. You could do some snapshots, some firewall, and some permissions. All right, so that was just your quick demonstration on how to create a virtual machine in Proxmox. So like I said, obviously you're going to have to install Proxmox on your own to get to that point, and you're probably better off just installing it on dedicated hardware, not doing the virtual machine method like I used. And of course, make sure you have enough hardware resources to run your virtual machines, especially RAM, because that seems to be the biggest problems when it comes to keeping your virtual machines running smoothly. All right, I'll put a link in the description where you could download Proxmox and you could try it out for yourself. All right, thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe.